Hey, Vickie Kelty back again to welcome you to the Quick Cultural Convo after show, where we do one thing, and that is to keep the conversation going. And I'm sure you remember our lovely pastry chef extraordinaire, Sarah Frison. And now it's time for us to chat about baking challenges. So we're each going to share our toughest recipe situations and how they turned out. Are you ready with your story, Sarah?
Yeah, sure.
I'm really interested to see how different our baking challenges have been. But I guess we will see momentarily. So here's what happened. I'm going to start explaining what happened with mine, and we'll see if you want to take a stab at what you think that I did wrong, because I can tell you right now what turned out is that my food did not turn out. So I was making a chocolate chip cookie recipe in high school, and I had to make a ton of cookies, more than I usually made. So I decided I would just double the recipe. Easy peasy, right? And so when I put the cookies in the oven, I mean, they say not to, but I did taste the batter just to see how these cookies were. And they tasted fine to me. I put them in the oven and they were just like completely flat, like flatter than a pancake flat. Actually, I saw something that you had on your Substack that those kind of like pancake things. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, 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 yeah.
What are they? Do you know what are they called? I don't know what they're called.
Just pancakes.
Oh, they are. Ooh, that's a difficult
That
name.
was
I'll
from
see if
like
I can
my last,
remember.
from like one of my last posts about like the holiday season book. And yeah, they're just pancakes.
Oh, okay. Well, this is what they looked like, was like this, only a bit thinner, and the chocolate chips were actually like the highest part of the cookie, because it was I didn't know what I had done wrong. So here's my challenge for you, Sarah. Do you have any guess about what you think I might have done wrong with my cookies?
I would guess there was something wrong, like in your measurements, or maybe like there was too much liquid. That's what it sounds like to me. But yeah, I always think it's a bit challenging because you don't really like. People will say, "Oh, that didn't go right." Like, what do you think happened? And I'm like, it would be easier if I saw a photo or like, you walk me through the
Right?
process.
That's so
But that's what I was
true.
thinking since you
That's
said
so
to double
true.
the
And
recipe.
those are your first guess is like hit the nail on the head, because if I had had a photo, I definitely would have showed it to you. But back when I was in high school, it wasn't like nowadays that we take photos of everything that we're doing, eating, watching, sitting around in front of, whatever. But yeah, so sadly, nobody got to see this disaster story, and only the lovely private podcast people even get to hear it. So keep this secret safe, everybody. But yes, I forgot to double the flour. So I doubled everything,
Okay.
but my mathematician skills failed me at a very important moment. And so I had to go to the supermarket and buy um, these cookies that I could bring to this event. And when I got home, I figured out what I'd done. And so then I added the extra flour and I made my cookies. But it was too late. I couldn't take them to the event. It was done. But yeah, so that was my little oopsie. It wasn't in reality, it wasn't the toughest recipe. It was some chocolate chip cookies, but for me, it was quite a challenge. So, Sarah, I want to hear yours. Tell us about your baking challenge.
My challenge was the first time that I took orders for my chocolate business. I had pre-sold a lot of things, and I only had like a small amount of molds for making the chocolates because they were just like what I had from like just like personally just like making things for myself and like for like other people. And
Yeah.
I had put in an order with the wholesaler to get the molds that I had already sold the figures that I was needing the molds for.
Like, I need these yesterday,
And
please. Thank you.
yeah, but they obviously had to be imported because they are made in Belgium. And um, the guy from the wholesaler was like, yeah, they're going to be there on time. Um,
That's
but
what they
obviously
always
they were,
say. Like the
yeah,
construction company that's like, "Oh yeah, we'll totally get your house remodeled in a week. It's fine." And no.
yeah. I think they were delayed in customs or something,
Oh
and
no.
so it took like a really long time before the molds got there, and then I had to. Um, I ended up making quite a significant amount of figures in like the week before they were all due to be shipped out. So that was the
Like, how
process of
many
that.
extra hours of work was that for you? That must have been like a
It
lot more
was,
time.
yeah, it was like I worked for like 30 days straight for like the whole day. So, and I didn't stop because I
No
didn't have
sleep for
enough hours.
Sarah.
That wasn't good.
But you got them all done.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they were all out on time. So
Well, I'm very happy that we had one success story out of the two. And when all of that was going down, did you ever consider just throwing in the towel and saying, okay, this is impossible? And being like me and go, well, I suppose you wouldn't go to the neighboring store and buy some chocolates like I went out and bought my cookies. But did you ever consider just, yeah, giving it up and saying, I'm sorry, I can't get you your chocolates?
maybe once or twice, but I felt like I just had to like keep going and finish. And then once the
Yeah.
molds came in, it was I don't really remember exactly when they came in, but then I obviously had like a lot more capacity because I was only making like a few figures at a time because that was like the only molds that I had. So once they came in, I was able to like make a lot more. And then, but that was it a week, 10 days, maybe even yeah, something like that, where I really had to like, make sure everything went out the door. So
Yeah. Going double time. And how like when you make a mold, a little chocolate mold, how long does that process take, more or less?
it depends really.
Mm.
Like it's more like the more molds you have, the more you can make in the same amount of time. So, but it takes
Oh,
like
sure.
let's say a whole morning or a whole afternoon to make one figure in total, because it has to like set in like in the meantime and like
Yeah,
so
that's what I was
basically
thinking about the
you're
time to
yeah.
set it.
So by the time you can empty the molds again to use them again, it's usually like half a day to a day. So that's why the more molds you have the more you can produce.
For sure. Yeah, because that's quite the process. Do you think that the chocolate work is your favorite aspect of like uh pastry stuff? Your chocolatier expertise?
It's definitely like the most straightforward for me because I can't eat gluten, so everything else I would have to adapt. And for like chocolate, it's quite straightforward. So
True. And I read been that you've been able to adapt some of the recipes in your holiday cookbook to I don't know if it's like with suggestions of how to make it gluten-free or but how do you share that gluten-free aspect with your readers?
yeah, I definitely made some suggestions in the book. I wasn't able to do all the breads and things because that's more like technical and you have to like do more adjustments. But
Mm.
like the pancakes I would always make and like other things I have like suggestions for what people can swap out in the flour and like what they can swap it with rather, to bake the things like the cakes or things. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's something we'll also read about on your Substack, some of the Sarah's gluten-free life stories in the UK or in Belgium. I wonder if there's any difference. Like more gluten-free availability in one place over another.
It's definitely different. Yeah, I feel like in the past few years, it's definitely become a bit of a frustration for me here in the UK because we always used to have more things, like interesting little things here that were gluten free. And
Yeah,
it's really like the way I see it, at least, it's really the availability has gone down like drastically. We still have like
that's
the basics,
surprising to
like
me. Oh, how
biscuits, breads, and
unfortunate.
things. But like I remember this huge gluten-free trifle that used to have. I don't know if we're allowed to do name brands.
Maybe nobody will know.
The more fancy supermarket that also sells clothing. Um, but they used to have this
Mm.
massive trifle. I'm like showing it with my hands. You can't see it, but I'm like
For
a real life
everybody
book with my
listening
hands.
to the audio, it was this big.
Yeah, it was really big, and they I never ended up buying them because it was like it was too much for what I wanted. It
But
was
it was just
basically,
knowing it was there, Sarah.
yeah, it was just, it was for like 6 or 8 people. I don't know. It was a huge bowl of trifle and like other, like I remember buying these little like pork pies, like individual ones, lots of different things. Like we have obviously the holiday season coming up. We would have um supermarkets where the whole like party food is what they call it here in the UK, like little like snack thingies and like appetizers and stuff. Like there were supermarkets that would make their whole range gluten free. So that was obviously really enjoyable, and most of those things have just gone. Like it hasn't made that trifle in like since like 2018. I think that's the last time I've seen it. They had to
Maybe what they
recall
needed to
their pork
do
pies.
was
It's
to
like,
make a one-person portion instead of a six-person one.
yeah,
Maybe they weren't selling it and they had to take it off the shelves, but the problem wasn't that people didn't want it. It was that it was just for too many people. And
yeah.
yeah,
So that's
but oh,
definitely
that's
my sort of frustration there. That there's a lot of, and especially at times when they're promoting like vegan things, then like you can see like the shelf for like vegan things expanding and like the gluten-free shelf sort of like contracting. So they like swap out. So yeah, I think,
like as if it's a fad. It's like, no, it's not a
yeah,
fad. I can't eat this.
yeah, I think the
Oh.
difference is here. There are more like interesting bits, and you can get like ready meals that's really easy. Um, and
Wow.
in Belgium, like it used to be very limited, but supermarkets stepped up, and there are more like day-to-day things that are labeled gluten-free. So it's like there's a difference there in what's available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll start expanding that gluten-free shelf at the store that will remain unnamed, but in case you
I
didn't
think
pick
we
up
have
on
all
it.
the stores because
Yeah, this is a note to all the stores. They don't like make another shelf smaller that is a needed one in order to expand a different shelf. Just expand on all of them. Thank you. And oh, I was going to ask you, what is a piece of advice that you would give to people before attempting a new recipe? Like when they get your holiday cookbook, before they just like open it up and say, voila, I'm going to do this recipe, what would be a little piece of wisdom that you would share with them?
I would definitely say to read the whole thing first to like get an idea of what you're doing, like see what all the tools are that you need. Do you have everything? Do you like just like read through everything, like see if you can like sort of visualize all the different steps, like what's involved. Have we done these things before? Not that you have to, because I try and explain as much as I can, but
yes, but you won't know
it's,
that if you didn't read through the whole thing.
yeah, it's useful to just like take a look at everything, see what you're expecting to do, see how long it's going to take as well, because maybe you only have like a little amount of time and like it's a recipe that like takes a little longer, or maybe it has to like rise if it's a loaf of bread or something like that. Or there's a cookie recipe in there that has to like rest overnight. So it's like
Oh,
take
yeah.
into account like what exactly is the recipe
Imagine you
asking
were
you
going to
to
do that
do.
for your party the same day, and you're like, what? Overnight? Yes, this is why you read the whole thing first, for sure. You want to be able to take it to your parties. The most important thing is, where can everybody find you over on Substack, and where can they find your holiday cookbook?
So everyone can find my Substack just under my own name. So if you just type that in, then you'll be able to find either my profile or my newsletter, because Substack has this thing where you have a profile and you've also got a newsletter, which is a little confusing, but yeah.
We
If you
trust
see
you to
like,
figure it out.
yeah,
Come on, people.
yeah.
We have faith in you.
Exactly, yeah. And the book is called The Festive Belgian Bakery, and you can find it on Amazon. If you're in the US, it's also on in or no on Barnes and Noble, because it's the online version. It's not in the shops, but you can find it with them online. And the Dutch version is also available through bookshop.org. I don't know why the English version isn't on there. I did look into it, but they were going to get back to me within 5 working days, so we'll have to wait and see what they say, what is going on there. But yeah, there are a few places where you can find the book.
We hope it will be the 5 working days and not like the story we told earlier where it got held up. And yes, in 5 working days, it'll be resolved. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks for staying for the after show. And thanks everyone that came to listen for staying with us. And until I get some water here, excuse me. Until next time, keep creating those conversations through, no, keep creating those connections through conversations, everyone. And happy baking in this lovely holiday season. Bye bye.
Bye, Vickie. Bye, everyone.